It's the most wonderful time of year in the sports world and in Stores, Connecticut. The 20th ranked UConn men's basketball team is locked into the number 3 seed in the Big East tournament and will play the winner of Georgetown and Seton Hall on Thursday night. Prime time, 9:30 p.m., the final game of the Thursday games at Madison Square Garden. I'm Noam Watt. My co-host is Jacob Sondik, and we'll make our Big East tournament predictions tonight on this episode of Run It Back. Plus, we'll recap the regular season finale as UConn beat DePaul 75-68, locking up the 3 seed with a little bit of help.
You said it best, man. It's the most wonderful time of the year, and we got some intriguing first-round matchups before we get into UConn and their games. We got Xavier falling to 8th. The wheels kind of coming off for Travis Steele and company. Facing Butler as a 9 seed. And in the 7-10 matchup, St. John's and DePaul, they match up again after the Javon Freeman Liberty masterclass. He had 39, and both teams were in the 90s. It was like an NBA game. It was absolutely crazy. And Georgetown's going to look to recreate some magic of last year. They're a lot worse and still looking for that first win, but they'll play 6-seed Seton Hall in the nightcap on Wednesday. Breaking down the bracket a little more, the winner of Xavier Butler faces top-seeded Providence. Creighton and Marquette, their matchup is set 4-5. They'll be the 2:30 game that UConn almost had to play in, but Seton Hall looking out for the Huskies there. Villanova will play the winner of St. John's and DePaul. And your University of Connecticut Huskies cap off Thursday night, like we said, either playing Seton Hall or, if pigs fly, Georgetown.
Hoya Saxa, baby.
Besides Georgetown upsetting Seton Hall, which, like I just said, is pretty unlikely. The other two matchups are fairly even, so we'll look ahead to the quarterfinals for this question. Which of the top 3 seeds do you think is going to most likely to get upset? Providence, Nova, or UConn?
Yeah, to me, it has to be Providence. It'll be over a week since they played their final regular season game. And, like we talked about last episode with Joe Davis, they've had a bit of pixie dust. Not to say they're not a good team. They are a good team. They're balanced, they're deep, and they have a great coach who will win the coach of the year in the Big East. But Providence is susceptible to an upset, particularly if Xavier wins, because we saw that triple overtime thriller just a few weeks back inside the Dunkin' Donuts Center. And we know the talent that Xavier has on their roster, from Paul Scruggs to Zach Fremantle to Jack Nungy. They have a lot of talent. They just haven't really hit their stride at all. They peaked early. They really fell off the table, but Travis Steele is coaching for his job. So if Xavier manages to get out of the first round matchup against Butler, put Providence on upset alert. I think you might agree with me, yeah?
I think I'll agree with you because I don't see Nova having any difficulty with St. John's or DePaul. Like, no chance. Barring Freeman Liberty having 50 or Champaign having 50 each and Villanova just not hitting their shots, which, as we've seen, does not happen. I think you're right with Providence, and you think you read my mind today because I was thinking, I said, if they get Butler, I think they'll be fine. Butler's an inferior team, and they're not good. But Xavier's really interesting. They're one of the most interesting 8 seeds in a tournament like this I think I've ever seen because they've underachieved greatly. And what comes with underachieving is the expectations that were there at the beginning of the season. When they beat UConn in Cincinnati, it was a ranked matchup. And now all of a sudden, like you said, Steele's coaching for his job. And I think that triple overtime game, Xavier had their chances to win. It took a Scruggs miracle to keep pushing the game. But the gap between those teams really is not that big as we think. It's not as big of a 1-8 gap as we've seen in the past. It's not a tune-up game for Providence before they have to play the winner of Creighton and Marquette. So I agree with you there. I think UConn is definitely susceptible to an upset too, because if they don't have it shooting from the field like we've seen, the slow starts, those limping out of the gates, those are done because you're done. And if they come in on Thursday night and shoot the ball poorly, and it can't get Sanogo involved. Seton Hall has ballers out there, man. Jared Rhoden's a baller. We don't know Aiken's story. We feel like we never know his story. But Kadari Richmond, he had one amazing game, the one terrible game. The middle ground, it's got to be there, and I think he's gonna show up in between those performances on Thursday. And they're good. They're a tournament team. They're a fringe tournament team. I think they're a tournament team.
Yeah,
and I think
they should make it.
I think they should make it. Yeah. And if UConn doesn't come out with that ferocity that they've been coming out with in the last couple of games, besides Creighton, obviously, I think it could be one and done. I really don't think so. I think UConn is the better team. But out of the range of upsets, I think Providence is most likely with Xavier. With Butler, I think they'll win. UConn, I think, is second most likely, and I just can't see Nova being one and done in this tournament. I think they're like the odds-on favorite for a reason, and it's Jay Wright, and this team has had championship success like very recently. So don't think it's going to be them falling early.
Yeah, the other thing that worries me about the Seton Hall UConn matchup is Ike Obiagu. If you have Adama Sanogo having to score over him, that's not a matchup that I particularly love.
No.
Adama has, been dominant this year at times. He's been the best big man in the conference, but he also has halves or games where he just flat out disappears. The game at Xavier, he disappeared. And to me, that worries me a little bit because he's the focal point of the offense. When Adama Sanogo goes, the UConn team goes, and he put up 26 against DePaul, really carried the offense because aside from him, nobody particularly stepped up. So let's go through the tournament bracket. All right. Got it up on the screen here. We're going to give our picks for every matchup. We'll start with the 8-9 matchup, Xavier Butler. Who do you have?
I got Xavier. I think they're the better team. The fact that I feel bad for Butler. This matchup isn't kind. I think the fact that like the gap between them is 1 seed. I think, like you mentioned, the playmakers I have Scruggs and Nunji and Fremantle. I think they're just better. I think they're a really good 8 seed. I think Butler's positioned right where they should be. I think above DePaul and above Georgetown. So I'll go Xavier there.
We're going to stick with you through your whole bracket. So St. John's, DePaul.
St. John's, DePaul. This is a really interesting one. But due to the fact that DePaul just beat them recently, I'm going to go St. John's. I think it's going to be a close game. I really don't think DePaul, I mean, they've both games against UConn, they lost by single digits. Like, this is no joke. Like, and they have a guy like Javon Freeman Liberty. Wow. I mixed up Fremantle there. And they have David Jones, who played really well against UConn. So they're no joke, but I think St. John's, it's Store South, but St. John's does play in the city. Like, it's their home arena for a couple of games when they play at Carnesecca. But I think St. John's is just better. I think having Pasha Alexander, I don't think DePaul has a guy like that to supplement Freeman Liberty. I mentioned Jones, but Pasha Alexander's a beast. I mean, co-defensive player of the year last year. Like, I think St. John's comes already to play. I think another coach like Mike Anderson, I think his job is not secure at all. Like, I don't think, I mean, it's Stubbs' first year at DePaul, and like, I think they've overachieved by a lot. I think they used to be like the basement and like, oh, it's an easy game. And they've won a couple of these games. I'm like, wow, like this team is pretty solid. And the future is very bright for DePaul. So I'm going to go St. John's. I think it's close though. I think we get a good game there.
All right. Seton Hall, Georgetown winless in conference play. There were rumors circulating that Ewing was going to retire. And then he put out a statement saying, no, hold the brakes, not retiring yet. Obviously is a big buyout. Georgetown, brutal season. Do they have any chance of an upset over Seton Hall?
I really don't think so, because I just think Seton Hall, like they've been consistently like in the tournament contention for a while now. And I think Willard's going to have them prepared, because it'd be so easy for them to overlook and be like, all right, we got UConn, and like, all right, Georgetown. But I know they're not going to do that. I think because you can't underestimate anyone in March. We've seen that. That's what makes it so amazing and great. So I think Seton Hall rolls here. I really just don't. I really don't see it. I don't really know what team Georgetown would have to face to have a chance. Like, I think DePaul rolls them too. Like, Butler, maybe. Butler's not that good, but I don't know. They're overmatched, and I think they're gonna get the 0. I'm shocked. Like, we covered the game. We talked about the game, and I was like, I don't want UConn to be their first loss. I don't think they're gonna get a win. Like, I don't see it happening. So I think Seton Hall moves on.
Moving on to quarterfinals Thursday. So you have Providence taking on Xavier, 12 o'clock tip.
I got Providence. I know we said they could be an upset alert, but I don't think Xavier is good enough. I don't think Providence wants this run to end, and I think they're sick of people like me and you and Joe Davis talking about the pixie dust, talking about the luck of the Friarish, whatever you want to call it. I think it's a close game, but I feel as if Providence is ready to go. They've never been the 1 seed at this tournament, and they're ready to prove people wrong. And I think they could be on upset alert, but I don't know if Xavier makes a Kemba Walker type run in MSG this week. Like, I just don't see it. Like, they've been treading in the wrong direction, and they are playing for their tournament lives. Like, I feel like at this point they have to. If they beat Providence, I think they'll solidify their case of like being on the right side of the bubble. But I don't know. As much as I would love to pick Xavier, I gotta roll Providence here.
Juiciest matchup of the quarterfinals for me: Creighton, Marquette.
I'm gonna go Marquette. Yeah, I think the Nemhart thing is gonna catch up to them, and I think it happens here. Marquette is you talk about playing with house money, man. At this point, like, yeah, they're the 5 seed and they're a tournament team and they want to win the biggest tournament, but they've exceeded expectations more than anyone in this conference, even more than Providence, I think, because Providence, like, we knew like what they had and we knew they've been solid, but Marquette was supposed to be like where DePaul and Georgetown, like, they were supposed to be bottom half of the conference, and they've exceeded all expectations. I think they did peak a little early, but I think that Justin Lewis's athleticism I think it's gonna be a nightmare for Kalkbrenner and Hawkins and company. I think that's gonna be a great game. I'm so happy UConn's not playing Marquette in their first game. That would be brutal. But I think Marquette squeaks it out here. It's maybe my anti-Creighton bias setting in, but I think you need all your playmakers in a tournament like this, and Marquette's more healthy than Creighton. So I got Marquette.
All right, Nova against St. John's. Nova odds-on favorite, as you said, to win the tournament.
Yeah, I got Nova by 20. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I think it's kind of bold, but I think every tournament has games like this where like it's kind of a blowout, and they're just like so skilled and they make their shots. I mean, Gillespie, Moore, Samuels, Dixon, like they're absolutely ridiculous. Like I said, they make contested shots. Like they make their open shots. It's a given. They're a great free throw shooting team. And I think St. John's, I think that matchup the night before, I think it's going to be tough for them. I think there's going to be a little bit of fatigue. I don't know. Like that's not a great getting DePaul. It's not great for them because DePaul likes to score and St. John's likes to score, but I think Villanova takes care of business. It'd be awesome. I would love to, like, it'd be crazy. It'd be, I think, one of the biggest upsets I've seen in the Big East tournament, but it's always been Nova. It's always been Nova.
And then the nightcap, UConn Seton Hall.
I'm going UConn. Bold take, right? But no, I truly think UConn's the better team. I think the fact that their first matchup that they lost in Newark coming off the COVID pause and they put up 87 was pretty impressive. And when they played in Gampel a couple weeks ago, UConn just looked more sound than they did. I think you're right. The matchup with Sonogo, it's not ideal, but this is where other guys step up. This is where like legends are made in March. And Cole having his worst game of the season, I think I'm happy he got it out of the way because he's not playing as bad as he did. It's impossible. Like he shot 1 for 9. The fact that UConn won is a testament to how good Adama Sonogo is, and Tyrese Martin having the double of a lifetime in 1916 he didn't even get an honorable mention. I think he's pissed about that. I think that's got to be a bigger headline because I love that they announce it right now because it's perfect timing. And I love that he's gonna use that as fuel and motivation. We don't know about Hawkins and Poly, and that's a little spooky. Hawkins with the concussions, I feel like he's getting concussed every game. And Poly, I think they said he's dealing with a non-COVID sickness. So that freaks me out a little bit, but I still feel like I think they'll have enough to beat Seton Hall. If they win and Nova wins and they match up with them, they got to have those guys back. Like we saw what Poly did. He saved the game for them when he hit that 3 when they were down 4 in Hartford a couple of weeks ago. So I got UConn. It's going to be close, though, and a slow start will doom them. They will lose if they start off poor. If it's a defensive, like if we go to the under 16 and it's under 12 and it's like 12-12, which like it could be, I think that's fine. But UConn's got to, if the offense isn't there, the defense has to be even more locked in. Like no easy buckets, no pointing and seeing who's guys who. Got to be locked in. I got UConn.
All right, semifinals. You got Providence, Marquette.
I'm going to go Marquette. I'm going to go upset here. I think they ride the momentum. I think Shaka Smart, I mean, he's had deep tournament success in the past. Not last year, obviously, the Albion Christian fiasco. But with VCU, I mean, no one thought they were going to do anything. And they made the Final Fours at 11. He's used to this. He's really used to this. And he never had a player like Lewis on his team that can just take over games like he does. The game against St. John's, the last game of the regular season, the athleticism and just the sheer force that guy has when he throws it down. I think they're going to ride the momentum. I think they take down Providence. This team swept Nova. Like there's a reason why they're a top 5 seed in this conference and a lock for the tournament, regardless of how these turn out. They could lose by 20 to Creighton. Yeah, it'll affect their seeding, but they're in the tournament. Like you beat Nova twice, you're in. So I got Marquette. As I would love to see it happen. The Providence, I think the train, I think it ends there. I think Marquette matches up well with them.
And then the other semifinal, UConn Nova, would be the game of the night in college basketball.
100%, like it was last time. It's a big if, if they don't have Polly and Hawkins, I got Nova. It pains me to say it, but it's got to be all hands on deck. And I think Villanova, it's very fresh in their mind. Like if I stand corrected, that's their last loss. And they saw us storm the court, and they saw they're salty over the jump ball call and the charge call, and they're pissed about that. They don't like losing, despite it being on the road. So if Polly and Hawkins play, I got UConn because I got to ride with my dogs. But if they don't play, it's not all hands on deck. I got Nova, unfortunately.
And then, so your final would be Marquette against either Nova or UConn. Who do you have there?
I think the winner of the Nova UConn game, that's not really a good answer, is it? But I think the winner of that game beats Marquette. I don't think Nova lose. If Nova Marquette, Nova's gonna roll because they lost twice. Like, we beat them once. Marquette beat them twice. They beat them in Philly. We went to the game. UConn had no shot.
No,
so the fact that Marquette did that was super impressive. So I think the winner of the Nova UConn game wins the Big East tournament. I'm being so on the fence about it, but those guys not being definitive yes or no, I don't know how to pick that game. I really don't, because it's two different UConn teams.
If I were to give you $100 bill and say win me money, who are you picking to win the Big East tournament?
In terms of who I think is going to win, roll UConn. Villanova's odds, they're pretty even. It's like plus 110. But best value, I got Marquette. The odds are really long, and if they take care of business against Creighton and they upset Providence, then there's no pressure on them. They're going to be dogs regardless who they play in the final. So value Marquette, who I think is going to win it, UConn, and the odds-on favorite is Nova. And there's a reason for that, because they're a well-oiled machine, and this has been their conference. We just got back, so it's time to show the world that we're back. And I think beating them again we share the conference now. Like, it's not, there would be no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's not a fluke. It's not a jump ball thing. It's a neutral site. Well, neutral site, but it's not XL Center. So those are my takes. I'm not being definitive, but I just don't know with this conference. It's actually bonkers. Every game's a one possession game, and the games I said Nova would roll, they're probably not going to roll. It's common practice to think they're going to, but every game in this tournament is probably going to be close. So.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there's going to be too many blowouts. Maybe the Georgetown game.
What about you? Let me hear your bracket.
Yeah, so I'm going to run through the bracket in a minute. All right. So we got the 8-9 game. Xavier Butler. I'm going Musketeers. I think they've been cold. They're better than the 8 seed. St. John's, DePaul. DePaul, great season. Like you said, they've overachieved. St. John's will be playing in front of their home crowd, and they have an NBA pick in Julian Champagny. I got the Johnnies. Now, Seton Hall, Georgetown. Seton Hall. Easy pick. Easiest pick of the tournament, I think. Providence, Xavier in the first quarterfinal. I'm going the upset pick. I think Xavier is going to beat Providence. I think we saw that triple overtime game play out. Providence going to be rusty. Xavier will be on a roll and feeling good after beating Butler. Creighton, Marquette. I got Creighton. I think Creighton is really good, even without Ryan Nembhard. Nova, St. John's. Nova. Hard to pick against Jay Wright. And UConn, Seton Hall. I got the Huskies. I think that even if Jordan Hawkins and Tyler Polley don't play, the big three in Adama Sanogo, Tyrese Martin, and RJ Cole will carry UConn to a win. Semifinals, Providence, Creighton. Xavier, Creighton. I'm going with Creighton. I think Creighton is the better team than Xavier. They'll have fresher legs. And Greg McDermott is an outstanding coach, as we've seen in their matchups against UConn. The other semifinal, Villanova, UConn. This one hurts. I'm going to have to pick Villanova. I don't think UConn can beat them twice in a row. They had to play a near perfect game to beat Villanova on their home court. I just don't think that happens again. Now the finals, Creighton, Villanova. Creighton's luck runs out. They're a good team. They're not better than Villanova. Villanova Wildcats, my pick for the 2022 Big East Tournament Championship.
Dang, you did that so.
That's what I got.
People are gonna hear me ramble, and you were just like, but yeah, no, I think all the picks you made make sense. I think that all those things could happen. Like the Xavier Providence game, it's gonna be coming under the wire. You don't go to triple overtime and then the next time you play, it's a blowout. Like, that doesn't happen. Exactly. And Greg McDermott's a great coach. He's been owning Hurley, and they take him overachieved. I didn't think they'd be good this year. And now next year, I'm like, damn, this team is going to be really they're not going anywhere. They're a staple in the Big East now, despite them being out in the middle of nowhere, and despite them continuing to beat UConn. Yeah, it should be. This is Villanova's tournament to lose. any other team wins it, and it's the rest of the non-biggies following college basketball. Because no one follows it closer than, besides Fanta, no one follows it like us. So they're gonna be like, huh, Villanova didn't win the Big East tournament, and that's where the majority of the money is gonna go. And that's what everyone's gonna pick. And it's not a sexy pick. It's the team. They're the top to bottom best team. But March, we've seen the best team in the regular season. It doesn't.
They
matter.
don't always win.
Throw it all out the window, man. Throw it all out the window. If UMBC can beat Virginia, anyone can beat anyone. I've seen it all. I'm gonna see a lot more upsets as March comes along. So it's Nova's tournament to lose.
So obviously I'm wearing my Kemba Walker jersey. Had to. Which player do you think is going to have their Kemba Walker moment, either on UConn or in the conference in general? Giving you 30 seconds for this one. Then we're going to recap UConn DePaul.
Got RJ Cole, man, cold-blooded. I'll never forget. Core memory is not. I'm 30 seconds. Jeez, I'm going way over. But looked at you. Were like, what's the play? RJ Cole to the basket. Sure enough, he's their guy. He's the closer. And UConn guards, they have a history in March. I think outside of UConn, I think it could be a plethora of guys. I mean, Gillespie, it's less of a shocker. I think Justin Lewis, I mean, being a young guy, he can do whatever he wants, and like the sky's the limit for that kid. And I think Champagny, maybe if he has a crazy game against Nova, it keeps that close potentially. But I think Justin Lewis is the non UConn guy I'm looking at, and I think on Providence, I mean, it could be Nate Watson, it could be Bynum, but I think Justin Lewis is my guy in terms of just where they're seated in the matchups.
You're really not listening to that 30-second, but it's okay. I respect it. I respect your thoughts.
I'm excited, man.
Justin Lewis, good player. For me, it's going to be Tyrese Martin, and it's exactly what you said earlier. He got snubbed from the second team for sure, and definitely honorable mention for Big East tournament, for Big East all team, selections. We saw him strumming the guitar during the win against St. John's a couple of weeks back in February at Madison Square Garden. He's familiar with that court. He's 23 years old. This guy, this guy's a boss. He's going to go out. He's going to play. He's going to have a great tournament. Now, we're going to spend a minute recapping UConn DePaul on senior night. Huskies swept the season series. They held off Javon Freeman-Liberty. He scored double-digit points in the second half. 7-point victory. They kind of collapsed at the end, didn't play very well. But what were some things that stood out to you?
I think the fact that they blew a big lead like they did against Xavier, but they closed. And that's what you got to do with teams like this. I swear to God, and I wish I could interview him about this. Freeman-Liberty heard the Gary chants and turned it up. No question about it. I think everyone knew that if UConn put it without a reach, he was going to get minutes because it's senior night. And Matt Gary's worked his butt off to be a part of this program. And he's a fan favorite for a reason, but it would have been malpractice for Hurley to put him in a game that UConn needed to win to get a top 3 seed. So Sanogo's first half was amazing. The disappearing acts freaked me out. Cole not playing well was also scary, but I was a fan of what I saw. I was a fan of how they moved the ball. Tyrese Martin taking his time on shots, being a beast on the boards. Andre Jackson being the facilitator he's been. It was a good, nothing to write, not their best performance of the year, but they got the job done. A win's a win.
Yeah, and obviously Seton Hall beat Georgetown earlier in the day while we were sitting in our seats at Gamble waiting for the game to start. Then UConn took care of business. They took the 3 seed for the Big East tournament, which begins today. We're recording this Tuesday night, but the episode will come out on Wednesday. So we did make our picks before that first round of games. It's going to be a fun one. We'll be down there Thursday afternoon, watch the Nova game, then watch our Huskies hopefully begin a good run in March. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Run It Back. Let us know if you agree or disagree with our picks. I got Villanova. Sondik's got either Marquette or Nova or UConn, his value pick.
I'm UConn. I can't be on the fence.
Good.
I rambled for minutes on end. People had to watch me ramble about nonsense. It's UConn. It's always been UConn. It'll forever be UConn.
Good. Well, we'll see. Hopefully the Huskies can pull it off. They'll need a good effort from their big 3, and hopefully Pauly and Hawkins can contribute despite being a little banged up. That's all we got. We'll talk to you on the flip side of the Big East tournament as UConn will enter March Madness somewhere between the 3 and the 6 seed line, and hopefully not in Buffalo, because that's like the worst possible location they could play at. Anyways, that's all. For Jacob Sondik, I'm Noam Watt. See you next time.